I want to take some time today and talk about how we were able to actually achieve some real world benefits with a customer of ours. So my name is Erwin Daria. I'm the Director of Technical Alliances here at StormForge. Spent a bunch of more time than I care to admit on the IT side as a customer. And I'm based here in the Bay Area. So I've on the vendor side, I've been at places like Juniper Networks and at Tintry. You might recognize me from those days. All right, so our customer that we want to highlight for you today is Acquia. If you're not familiar with Acquia, they're the world's largest enterprise digital experience provider focused on Drupal. About 4,000 customers. Their core product is their platform called the Digital Experience Platform. And last year, they were involved in essentially an initiative to re-platform their DXP to Kubernetes. Part of the goal for doing this refactoring and replatforming was to achieve a greater sense of resource efficiency, more scale, right? So they want to be able to grow their platform, support more customers, and then they wanted to be able to achieve the velocity of being able to develop new features and products for their customers and then deliver them, ship them to production as quickly as possible. And that in this effort to replatform their DXP, in that first year, they were projected to impact 2,500 of their customers, which equaled about tens of thousands of applications. So in working with Acquia, we implemented Optimize Pro. We wanted to focus on minimizing resource allocation, as well as minimizing P95 latency. So we had to develop a series of performance tests that equaled a user story that touched all of these places on their digital experience platform. And then we wanted to optimize all of the parameters that maybe is a little bit hard to see at the very bottom, but essentially we used the Apache CPU and memory, PHP, and Drupal replicas, as well as a bunch of Drupal-specific application parameters. Now, for this particular customer, let me back up here. For Acquia, what we wanted to do is use one of their largest customers and optimize their footprint as a way of proving the value of Optimize Pro. So we worked with them to inspect the configurations for one of their largest G500 customers. This is a globally renowned brand. And in this particular case, what they had done is that customer was one of the first ones that they had replatformed to Kubernetes. In the work that they had done before working with us in Optimize Pro, they had identified 3 key workload profiles that they wanted to support and have basically a templatized deployment manifest for. And they were using that effectively as a template for all subsequent customers that were moving over to the Kubernetes platform. And that they also realized that as they were going to move these things into operations, that this would be effectively impossible to manually tune for every single one of their customers. So here you see a simplified overview of kind of the architecture, but we worked with Acquia to, again, develop the performance test using our testing platform for all 3 of the key workload scenarios that they wanted to optimize for. And I want to take a moment to kind of go over what our actual results were. So again, in doing the replatforming work, they had used the baseline configuration for this Global 500 customer as a template for all subsequent customers moving over to the Kubernetes platform. And you can imagine that if there's any operational inefficiency there from a resource allocation perspective, that cascades and it aggregates quite quickly, right? Leading to a lot of platform overages and things like that. So going over the results of our experimentation with them, under their workload scenario 1, we were able to save 58% cost, basically resource efficiency, while still improving their P95 latency. So I think Chris, you had a question about ensuring that the experiments can replicate and be able to measure the user experience, and in some ways, P95 helps us achieve some of that. Scenario 2, 90% cost savings while also still improving P95 latency. And then lastly, scenario 3, a 40% cost savings while still improving P95 latency. Now, One thing I like to cover as I go over this is that all of the savings were based versus their baseline. So you can see here that human beings kind of making manual adjustments to how scenario 1 versus scenario 2 versus scenario 3 are implemented. Our machine learning doesn't have any of that bias, right? So whereas maybe unintuitively you might expect to see 58% savings on all 3 of the scenarios, you can see that again, based on the performance scenarios that we were using as load tests, we were able to find, again, that optimal configuration for each one of those 3.
Now, when they were done with all this, you know, as with all optimization tools, I always ask the question, did you give them all the goods and now they don't need you anymore?
No, that's actually not true. So you might have heard from my colleagues that our goal is to work with our customers not only to optimize applications, but then to plug this system in as part of the release cycle, as part of the pipeline. And one of the things that we help our customers with is understanding the notion that as you're getting new functionality baked into new container images or maybe new features that are part of the application platform, you still want to run these experiments prior to release to production so that you understand if any of the new functionality has any impact on the 2 or multiple metrics that you care about. The other thing is you want to be able to understand if you're maybe deploying to a new environment, whether there's environment variables that might be affecting the performance and in this case cost as well. So we do help our customers kind of understand that as a new dynamic in their pipeline.